4 months have passed since the murders in Moscow, Idaho occurred, and it's been almost 3 months since Bryan Kohberger was arrested and charged with the crime. The search warrant information from when Bryan Kohberger was apprehended at Bryan Kohberger's parents' home in Pennsylvania was released recently. The items found at his home in Pennsylvania were a knife, book with underlining on page 118, AT&T bill for Bryan C. Kohberger, Glock 22 Gen 5.40 caliber pistol, Smith & Wesson pocket knife, folder containing vehicle paperwork, Acer laptop, green leafy substance in plastic bag, white paper with password, power cable, cell phone, 3 Glock .40 caliber magazine empty, books, black face masks, a prescription, black gloves, 1 black hat, 1 black mask, personal identifying documents, New Balance shoes, dark-colored jackets, dark-colored jackets, more dark-colored jackets, dark-colored shirts, more dark-colored shirts, more dark-colored shirts, dark-color pants, 1 clear plastic glove, 1 possible HP laptop with damage with application record of sale of Glock item, note in desk, criminal psychology book, documents and DeSalles University notebook, XL Columbia Navy fleece, a Mons World drawing, 10 cards inside gloves inside box, various criminology books, notes, license, card, dark color hats, black gloves, Seagate Barracuda 1 TB Samsung solid disk drive, black box Samsung, 2 pairs of black gloves, dark green short sleeve shirt, black long sleeve shirt, black sweatshirt, gray jacket, 2 pairs black pants, 1 black jeans, 2 pairs black jeans, 2 black long sleeve shirts, 2 pairs of black pants, 1 gray jacket, 1 gray knit felt hat, 1 black glove, motherboard, WSU paperwork, note from Bryan from Montana, Craftsman Shop vac, medical documents, court documents, note to dad from Bryan, maroon-colored spiral notebook, dark-colored clothes, HP 100B all-in-one computer, Lenovo IdeaPad laptop, Tangent model medallion desktop, dark clothes in laundry basket, Taylor cutlery knife with leather sheath, Swab S1, Swab S2, Swab S3, Swab S4, 2 pairs dark-colored boots, 1 pair brown boots. On his arrest, the authorities also searched the Hyundai and found many items such as a knife, tire irons, a shovel, goggles, a Ziploc bag and other items in the car. The authorities didn't say if any of the knives found were the murder weapon. On January 17, 2023, the search warrant affidavit was unsealed of the December 30, 2022 search of Bryan's apartment in Pullman, Washington, and it stated numerous items were taken such as a nitrite-type black glove, a computer tower, animal hair and hairs. The evidence in the probable cause affidavit for his arrest was pretty damning. Bryan made many errors leading up to the crime. He also left his DNA on a vital physical item, which was the sheath to the murder weapon, the bar knife by the body of Maddie Mogan. According to the probable cause affidavit, Bryan Kohberger's cell phone records showed his phone pinged near the Moscow home 12 times from June to the date of the murders, all but one being in the middle of the night. Surveillance footage showed his white Hyundai Elantra doing laps in the neighborhood right before the murders were believed to have occurred. Cell phone records for his phone matched almost identically to the path of the Elantra in the footage gathered apart from the time of the murders where his phone was most likely off. Surveillance footage followed his car's path from the home back to his residence in Washington. The surviving roommate Dylan caught a glimpse of the killer in the home and gave a description of the male very close to Bryan's appearance. Finally, DNA found on a knife sheath under Maddie's body and DNA pulled from a trash can outside the family of Bryan in Pennsylvania was a 99.998% match. In March 2023, the Loudoun County Prosecutor's Office magistrate judge signed off on items, social media accounts, phone towers, and other online profile documents to be sealed and redacted. It's been reported from sources which aren't revealed that Bryan Kohberger has had his life threatened whilst at the Loudoun County Jail and that he reportedly attends the church services there. He is apparently being kept away from other inmates for his own safety. It's unclear if this information is true. On Sunday, November 13, 2022 in Moscow, Idaho, 4 students were stabbed to death in their homes in the early hours of the morning with a car knife. 3 of the victims were female. Many people online remembered the Gainesville Ripper case and noticed the similarities of both crimes.
Back in 1990, a different college campus was terrorized by a killer on the loose. 5 University of Florida students were murdered. It happened over the course of 3 days. And there are a few similarities between that case and the University of Idaho quadruple murders. News Nation's Sloan Glass is back with a chilling look at the man behind those Florida killings.
Yeah, chilling indeed, Nicole. Danny Rolling, dubbed the Gainesville Ripper, was behind the murders of 5 college students in Florida and a family of 3 in Louisiana. Rolling's killing spree was so gruesome, he was the inspiration behind the movie franchise Scream.
The University of Florida, killing 5 students over the course of 3 days. He targeted women who looked like his ex-wife. The murders and rapes were brutal, especially for those covering the case, like TV anchor Doris Keller.
And we had some of our police contacts who were telling us more about the scenes than they were living on, early on. I think a lot of it came out in the trial, but yes, it was very sickening. And to know how they, positioned some of the bodies and that type of thing, how Rolling did that, it was just unreal.
The victims were female except for in one case, when Rolling didn't know a male roommate was home, ultimately killing him too.
It was just very fearful, very stressful. The students who remained in town, especially the female students who lived near those sites, the murder scenes, they were very fearful. They were anxious, and many of them, ended up going into therapy and that type of thing because of how traumatic this whole thing was.
In the end, the serial killer wasn't caught in connection to the murders. He was arrested for a robbery. It was 4 months later, when he was in jail, that DNA evidence linked Rolling to the Gainesville murders. He confessed and was put to death in 2005. Hours before his execution, he confessed to killing 3 members of a family back in his hometown of Shreveport, Louisiana. The sheer sadistic nature of Rolling's killings is different from the Idaho College murders. In one case, Rolling beheading one of his victims. But there are a few similarities in the 2 cases. Both college campus crimes were committed with a fixed-blade knife. Rolling broke in through sliding glass doors, and the house where the Idaho murders happened did have a similar door that could have been the killer's point of entry. And in both cases, the universities and surrounding towns were crippled with fear. The Idaho case remains unsolved 2.5 weeks later, many students not returning to the campus out of fear. In Gainesville, students slept in large groups, taking shifts to sleep. Always someone staying awake on watch. College kids armed with baseball bats walked to classes.
I had people that actually walked through the house and made sure there was nothing amiss, that no doors that had been ajar or anything like that. So yeah, it was a tough time especially for those of us who lived there. But again, it was a close-knit community, and we all came together and all helped each other out.
The University of Florida shut down for a week, and when it reopened, many students never returned to campus. To this day, there is a memorial and mural on campus honoring the 5 students.
Serial killer profilers say Rolling grew up in an extremely abusive home. Rolling carried that abusive behavior into his failed marriage and other parts of his life. Of course, there's no evidence at this point that it is a serial killer who is behind the University of Idaho murders.
Danny Rolling was connected to the Gainesville, Florida murders case from DNA they had taken from robbery crimes in the past he had committed, and his DNA was close enough of a match to make a DNA link. He was apprehended less than a month after he had killed 5 individuals in August 1990. Bryan Kohberger was also apprehended shortly after the 4 students were murdered in Moscow, Idaho, in a similar crime to the crimes Danny Rolling committed on the early morning hours of Friday, the 30th of December 2022 at his parents' house in Pennsylvania. The news media are now reporting again that Bryan Kohberger is possibly a serial killer, even though weeks prior law enforcement in Pennsylvania said they have no evidence he is connected to any other murder in the state.
The man accused of murdering 4 University of Idaho students lived in the Northwest for only a few months. He spent most of his years on the East Coast.
So that's where Chris Ingalls from our sister station in Seattle went. He uncovered new information about how police and prosecutors in Pennsylvania are responding to the case.
We're in eastern Pennsylvania. Bryan Kohberger spent his teenage years and most of his adult life here. That includes stints at 2 local colleges, including DeSales. Now police and prosecutors in this area want to know what he was up to all those years and are digging into their cold case files. Just outside the open wilderness and resort towns of the Pocono Mountains lies a neighborhood called the Birches.
It's just a very quiet community.
These are the streets an accused killer once roamed as a teenager.
I've definitely seen it on TV. Who hasn't?
Now, Lynn Klein and others in the Pennsylvania communities where Bryan Kohberger lived until last year want to know if he could have committed any crimes before he was charged with the murders at the University of Idaho.
Because anybody or any family that's been harmed or done wrong to deserves to know the truth.
It isn't just citizens. Police and prosecutors have asked the same question.
Your natural reaction is to start wondering, okay, is this guy wanted? Is his name out there? Did he do anything here in Northampton County? Terry Houck.
Terrence Houck is district attorney of Northampton County and leads an office of more than 20 prosecutors and a half dozen detectives. It's here at Northampton Community College where Bryan Kohberger took his first courses in higher education, graduating here in 2018. After Kohberger's arrest for the Idaho murders, Northampton County's district attorney ordered a review of unsolved cases in his county.
We have a crime information center that compiles information of people's description, size, weight, height, method of operation, things of that nature.
Obviously, you wonder whether or not there was any criminality that he committed here in Lehigh County or in the environs.
Jim Martin, district attorney of the neighboring county, Lehigh, also ordered a review of unsolved cases. Lehigh County is home to DeSales University, which Kohberger attended after Northampton Community College. He spent 4 years here studying criminal justice.
Bryan Kohberger,
earning a master's degree last summer. What does law enforcement do, given that he did spend time here?
Well, we have a resource here called the Regional Intelligence and Investigation Center. It's the first thing I did was I asked the director of the RIC, as we call it, to see if we had any contact with Mr. Kohberger.
A data search of more than 6 million police incident reports in Pennsylvania turned up only one record with Kohberger's name. He called police from this bike trail one night to report that his car was locked behind a park gate.
There was a response from him thanking the police and apologizing for the inconvenience.
The district attorney in Monroe County, Pennsylvania, where Kohberger grew up and where a SWAT team arrested him on December 30th, did not respond to our questions. But in Northampton and Lehigh counties, both district attorneys say their investigations have found no links to Kohberger and any unsolved cases.
So we have no unsolved homicides that in any way meet the modus operandi of this event out in Idaho.
There was nothing been brought to my attention. In fact, nothing with respect to Kohberger has come about in our investigations of cold cases or unsolved cases to this point.
And that should be some relief to a community that's been stunned and saddened by the murders of 4 college students 2,500 miles away.
It's a little close to home. You just don't expect it.
So prosecutors say the bottom line is there's no evidence that Kohberger committed any crimes here in Pennsylvania.
Bryan Kohberger is innocent until proven guilty, even though I think the evidence overwhelmingly shows he is guilty, and I don't believe there's a way out for him. It doesn't matter how good his lawyer is deemed to be. If the evidence is strong by the prosecution, then he will be found guilty by a rational, logical thinking panel of jurors.